Hi there. My name is Sjofors, but I'm also known as the Price Whisperer. I'm the author of a book that also called The Price Whisperer, oddly enough, but it has a subtitle. That subtitle is A Holistic Approach to Pricing Power, and it's everything you need to know about pricing right. I'm the founder of my company that's called Sjofors and Partners. And in this episode, we're talking about the importance of price, how price can drive superior business result for any company, and how you as a company executive, small or large company, need to look at pricing from that holistic point of view, so you can um, make sure that you price right, you price often high if you have differentiators, and that you take a step back and understand how these differentiators may affect your price and your profitability. So your company will go to the next level. I hope you enjoyed the show, and thank you so much.
Hello, fabulous person. Beate Chelette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting-edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. Hello, welcome. Beate Chelette here, the Growth Architect. Today we are talking about something that you are probably wanting to pull your hair out one by one, which is why it's such an important topic. We are talking about pricing. And I have with me the authority on the subject. I have Pairs for Sjofors, and I will try it until I get it right, who is also known as the Price Whisperer, to make it easy for people like me to not butcher his name any further. Per, I'm so excited for you to be on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be on the show. And I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I really hope that the audience is going to find it valuable.
Oh, believe me, I'm sure they're already at the edge of their seats, because when we talk about pricing, right? And again, we're talking about the strategy of everything. So now we're talking about strategy of pricing. So I'm just going to put this blanket question out there. I'm sure it's a loaded question for you, but pricing and strategy, how do those two go even together?
Well, that's a that requires a very long answer. The first of all, we need to realize that almost all companies have the wrong pricing strategy, and they use a pricing strategy that is they try to find the competitor's price and price the same, um, and and that leads to commoditization eventually. And pricing as a competitor is often the first step into the commoditization death spiral. And you don't want to be in that commoditization death spiral, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And
so I
and
wanna I wanna just stop you right here and make sure that everybody really understands what that means. So you're saying that when we go out and we have our amazing service, our product.
mhm,
So our natural tendency would be then to go and says, what does the market bear? Right? A
mhm,
question I've heard 1,000 times.
yeah,
Or let's do the SWOT analysis of what other people are doing. And you
mhm.
saying that that is a big mistake.
That is a big mistake because what happened when you're a commodity, when your customers are perceiving you as a commodity, is that the lowest price are going to win. And often what happened here is that companies start by pricing as a like a competitor, if a competitor have pricing online, right? Um, but um, but that's just the first step, because the next thing that happen is that okay, then you mimic the features and functions, and you mimic the marketing messages, and suddenly you are a true commodity. And then the lowest price win means lower margins, means fewer resource for product development, for fewer resource for marketing, and means that even degraded products and so forth, and even lower prices. And eventually, once you very few companies can recover from that commodity death spiral because it's very, very, very hard. And you either end up on life support or dead, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
So now we talked about what we shouldn't do. So do not go to your competitors. Do not check what they're doing. So how do I set a good price for myself? How do I know um, what I'm worth? Is there a calculation formula of some sort, or how do I get to arrive at my price?
Well, it always should be based on what your customers are willing to pay. And customers are willing to pay more money for differentiation, right? Um, and differentiation must be meaningful for the customers, right? I mean, we can take a very simple example from maybe the car market, right? People are willing to pay more money for a BMW than for a Toyota because for a portion of the market, BMW have differentiators that make sense to that portion, right? And I mean the same with we all have our iPhones, right? And people are willing to pay more for an iPhone than for an Android phone for because it is different in certain ways that customers of Apple are willing to pay more money for, basically, and that goes for everything.
So how do I get as somebody who really wants to make more money and go out there and says I'm worth it, but what if I don't really feel like it? Is there yeah, am I gonna just put my shingle out and am I gonna just say this is worth more? Is there any when you work with your clients, is there a
Mhm.
mindset hurdle that you have to overcome with them?
There's often a mindset hurdle. The Our customers are typically smallish to mid-market companies, meaning maybe 5 to 150 million in revenues. And I speak always to the CEO. And I hear this again and again that he or she is saying that if we just increase our price a single percent, we're going to lose all our business. But that's of course not true, you know. And so there's a tremendous fear of increasing prices because most companies don't know the relationship between how price and the perception of value are related. And in fact, price itself is the strongest marketing message of value. And there is something in my industry, in the pricing industry, that's called expectation bias. And what that means is two things. It means that if one of your customers are being presented with a price of a product or a service that they perceive is too low, they won't buy it because that low price becomes a message of inferior quality or benefit. And I mean, we've all been there, you know. We kind of hold something in our hand, either physically what do you call it, or not, and we think to ourselves, I kind of want to buy this, but at this price, can't be any good, so I'll pass, right?
I mean, it is absolutely correct. I think that you have a very valid point. There's a reason when I go to a place like Nordstrom's or Bloomingdale or Neiman Marcus or Chanel or Rodeo Drive,
Hmm.
I expect a certain experience. I expect a certain craftsmanship, and I
Hmm.
expect a certain uh, quality of what I'm buying.
Hmm.
But then when I go to a Ross or a TJ Maxx, I don't necessarily do because, I mean, if I buy a t-shirt for 3.99, then my expectation is if I wear it 4 times, I mean, I basically come out ahead.
Yep.
So, what would you tell to our listeners that are really worried about pricing themselves out of the market, where they say, yeah, I would love to charge more,
Hmm.
but every time I do that, my clients tell me that it is too much. What are we going to tell them?
Um, well, that if that is the answer you're getting, or your the audience are getting, it means that they have become a commodity, right? And 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 the first thing they have to do is find ways of differentiate yourself, in some way that makes sense, that adds value to the customers, and it has to add value. I mean, it could be even if you're selling what is a commodity product or a commodity service, maybe you can have quicker delivery than a competitor. Maybe you can bundle that product or service in such a way. Maybe you can unbundle it in certain way. Maybe you can have different warranties. Maybe it's really taking a step back and saying, how can I in my company add a little bit more value to my company, to my customers, in such a way that they see me as different than my direct competition, and because of that, I can charge higher prices.
I absolutely love that. I think that what I'm hearing from you, Per, is that really the idea is that you have to take pricing as seriously as actually creating the product or the
Oh,
service.
absolutely.
So we go, right. So I have you know, my system, my signature growth system,
Hmm.
and I think I'm the only one who does it as well as I do. So, but I've never thought about from a pricing perspective on how serious I have to be because I rather, want to go in and I want to work on the product and the service and I want to redo the strategic blueprint and I want to, do it in different ways. But what I'm hearing from you is I better be stopping all of that, taking a step back, looking at it and saying, what's it worth?
Yeah.
So
I
are
mean,
there any like suggestions on how I can do that?
well, again, it all gonna depends on the exact business, but think about Starbucks, right? What used to be a pretty awful so-called coffee in a styrofoam cup with some powdered whitener that was 50 cents, right? Is
I
now
remember that.
$5.
Mhm.
It's a better
Oh,
product.
if you
It's a
only pay
diff
$5, you're getting a steal. Mine's like 7.50.
Oh, really? I don't know. I don't know. I rarely go to Starbucks. I have Starbucks coffee in my in my cup here, but I rarely go to Starbucks for coffee. Anyway, but you see, they differentiated themselves, right? And they differentiated themselves in ways that made the whole experience very different, right? And because of that, they can charge much higher prices, right? Now the product is better. And do you know, by the way, that Starbucks is the largest buyer of milk in the US?
I did not know that.
Because that, I mean, from my perspective, who always just drink black coffee, what you get at Starbucks is mostly coffee flavored milk, right?
That's so interesting. So anyway, so let's go back to now I'm looking at my product, my
Hmm.
service.
Hmm.
I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to make my positioning statement.
Hmm.
I am saying I am going to be a low middle, or high provider, right? So there's
Mhm.
different criterias.
Mhm.
Then I look at my competitors, but I am going to do this only because I want to know what they're doing so I can differentiate myself
Mhm.
from them. Is
Mhm.
that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I mean, I'll tell you this, and this is an example of differentiation for in a small company. Um, uh, about a week ago, I had a blockage in my in my kitchen sink, right? Happens now and then, nothing special with that. And I called up this plumber company we've been using for years and years. And what do I get? Well, I get a text back saying, "This is the guy who's going to show up," you know, and it's a picture of him in front of the truck that he's using, and it's his name, and here's his phone number, and all of that good stuff, right? And suddenly, and then then I get a text eventually saying that I'm there in 10 minutes, right? So from me as a customer, this is a much better experience than I call some I call some plumber somewhere, and they they say, well, we're going to be there Tuesday between 9 and 5, and and it doesn't cost the company anything, right? But it makes the experience so much better. And this is something that works for similar for everything, but going back to the right price, the right way of pricing is always understand how much extra you can charge for this, right? And there is, if you're looking at startup companies or very small companies that sort of can't afford our services, um, the way you can do this is you can go out and find 25 potential buyers, 25 potential customers, and what you then do is that, and these are not your current customers, they're not the current prospects, and they're certainly not friends and family, right? And then you ask them two questions, and phraseology here is very important. You ask them, you describe your product or your service, and then you ask them, so now you know what I'm selling. What is a price that is just barely too low so you wouldn't buy it because you get an expectation of
Ye-
poor quality, or that we will underdeliver,
Mhm.
or that the quality of our service is not going to be good enough? What is the price that is just barely too low, right? And then you say, and now let's talk about the flip side. Now you know what we do, you know our product, you know our service. What is a price that is just barely too high? So it doesn't matter how good it is. Doesn't matter if we over deliver. It is still too much money for you, right? Then you take the average of those 2 points, and you have a range of where the prices should be. Not below this and not higher than that,
I think
right?
it's genius. I think it's absolutely genius because then you'll get an idea. There was a really interesting experience that I had. I was in a sales seminar, and then the gentleman said to me, "So, how much do you charge for this one service?" And I said, between 65 and 7,500. And then he
Hmm.
says, "And what's the result that your customer gets?" I said, "Well, it's not untypical that they'll go out and close a 50,000 or $100,000 deal
Yeah.
because they finally understand how to talk about it." And then he looks at me and says, "How do you feel about your pricing?" And I said, well, now that you mention it, I feel like an idiot. Because if what I, do, if that is true, that somebody does take what we do and then turns around and closes, 5 and 6 figure deals, then is the price, the five, the 5 figures is what I charge really appropriate
Mhm.
to what the solution is that they're creating? And that really made me think about you, Pear, because I was like, what would Pear say about that? What does Pear say about that?
Well, what I do say about it is that, in a way, I'm in the same boat, right? And as many service providers that sell something that people don't buy every day, you kind of know what a the range of what a business consultant should be. You know what the range of a accountant should be. You know what the range of a lawyer should be, right? Because you've used them in the past. In my case, our clients have never used a price consultant before, so they don't know what it should cost, right? And just like in your case, I mean, I have endorsement from folks who saying that, well, you helped us grow from 100 million to way over 1 billion, right? And so I mean, so it's massive amount of monies. Um, but first of all, what you do, it's easy to find out through our process what people are really willing to pay. The other thing I would do in your case, I would take I would increase the price substantially, and I will put a guarantee on it. You know, if it doesn't work, you'll give half the money back or whatever. Um, sort of you double your price or treble your price, and if it doesn't work, you give half the money back. And in the odd occasion where it doesn't work, you still make more money.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is a really interesting problem. I think a lot of service providers are in,
Hmm.
where we know that what we do is like, what's the price of a marriage that's not failing? What's the
Mm.
price of avoiding a divorce that could cost you millions of dollars?
Wow.
What's the price of somebody overcoming, addiction and living a happy life? What's the price of an HR consultant going and building a team and avoiding the turnover? So I think there's really always a fine line between experience. I think you have to have a little bit of a badass attitude about it,
Hmm.
where you say, I cannot do this for $60. There's a case where I was working or considering working with the Small Business Administration, the SBDC, and
Hmm.
then I found out that what they're paying their consultants and trainers is $60 an hour. I can't work for $60 an hour. I mean,
No.
not at that level. And so I had to say no to that, because, or not even go there any further, because it just isn't feasible for the type of clients that I'm going after.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
while we're on the subject, I want to talk to you about something I know is a pet peeve of yours: discounts.
Discounts, yeah. Well, discounts is there's something that we have to realize. And if you look at any company, first of all, profitability is what fuels every company, right? Not everybody realize that, and certainly not everybody within the company realize that. Maybe some of the executives think about it all the time, but many others in an organizations may not. So profit fuels every company, right? And if you look at the average company, well, in any company, profit only comes from three variables. It is the cost of running the operation. It is the sales volume of whatever you're selling, and it's the price of whatever you're selling, right? And for the average company, and of course, no company is sort of average, but for the average company, if you do a thought experiment and you say, if I change one of these three variables 1%, how will my profit be affected? And if you can increase your sales volume with 1%, profitability goes up with 3.5%, again, for the average company. If you can reduce your cost with 1%, profitability goes up with 5.5%. But if you can increase your price with 1% or decrease your discounting with 1%, profitability goes up 11.3%.
Wow, that's amazing. And stay with us. We will be right back with more information about one of the things you all struggle with, discounts. We will be right back. Commercial.
Yeah, I want to talk about how you should stop discounting.
Yes, we are.
Well,
And we are right back here with a pair talking about a loaded subject, the question of discounting. So, pair, now we are always tempted when it comes to a special occasion. I mean, I think we're trained by our environment or communities like that to always look out for the sale and the discount. Is there a magic number with discounts? Should we be doing this? Should we not be doing this? What is your opinion about this?
well, just before the commercial break here, I mentioned how pricing and discounting affects profitability, and I have invented something that I call the 1% challenge, right? And the 1% challenge is very simple, right? If you start looking at your pricing and your discounting and you're changing it 1%, the challenge here is that, have you ever managed or have you ever failed to change anything 1%? Of course
I
not.
don't I don't know if 1% is a number that would even.
No, I'm just saying that once you start looking at discount, once you start looking at
Right.
price,
Mhm.
you're not going to increase your price 1%. You're going to
No.
increase your price 5%, 10%, right? And suddenly, if you're like the average company, your profitability is doubled, right? Um, Likewise with discounting, you're not going to allow your salespeople to go out and discount 25% just to get the deal, right? You're going to say, well, you get 10% to discount. That's it. That's what you get. Go and sell at 10% maximum discount. And 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 suddenly, if you do this, suddenly the company have a tremendous profits, right? Profits that they can obviously reinvest in the company with more product development or more service development, more marketing, um, more sales resources, even hire the best people, right? That may not have been possible before. So, so discounting, and there are companies out there where the salespeople are not allowed to discount. Period. Right now, what it means is that they need to be trained to deliver a compelling value proposition, right? And they need to be compelled to say that we are better than the next guy because this and that,
Mhm.
and we will do this that they don't do, and we are simply we can, because we don't discount, we can support you better. All different things, but the key, and then if you don't discount, there's a and I've seen this. I've seen companies who take away discounting. They lose a lot of salespeople, right? No surprise, eh?
Well,
But
I mean,
then they also,
it's almost like then I would say if that is the case, then that would mean that the salespeople that they have are trained to close with a deal
Yeah,
offer.
okay. Of discount, yeah, and then they attract other salespeople who knows there is a better way, who are trained to that there is a better way, and and obviously, if you're commission driven in any way, which a lot of salespeople are, they realize that higher profit margins leads to higher commissions. You know,
It's kind of simple, right? If
it's
we look
it's
at it.
kind of
Yeah,
simple, yeah, I
yeah.
know.
Okay. So let's go through this one more time. So I want to make sure that we really call it out the way it is. So I'm hearing you say don't be afraid of pricing
No,
and give yourself time to really step back and run the formulas, which I'm sure you're going to tell us where we can find when we work with you in a minute. Use common sense. Make sure you understand your numbers so you're actually making a profit.
yes,
I have seen this so many times that companies are putting random prices out. They don't even know how much money they're making
yep,
if they're doing something which is absolutely which is misery. So cost of goods sold and simple things like that. You said make sure that the salespeople or you yourself as your salesperson understand the value you're bringing. Never make it about the price. The price is what people are willing to pay for the value that you're providing. And discounting in general is something you need to be super, super careful about. Have I summed this up properly?
yeah, and there's I talked about expectation bias, and low prices leads to an expectation of inferior quality. High prices leads to an expectation of quality and benefit. And there's been any number of trials done in academia where they found that that 5-cent aspirin is not very effective in curing your headache, but the 50-cent aspirin is, right? So and so that's the other thing with expectation bias. That
Mhm.
if you sell something that is more expensive, um, customer satisfaction goes up,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, yeah, that's very good. And then before we talk about you some more, now if I am raising my prices and
Mhm.
now people say that's too much. I can't I can't work with you. It's too much. What should I do now? Find more
Well,
clients,
first of
different
all,
clients?
if you raise your prices and everybody is saying that can't can't buy from you anymore, you know, that means that you haven't taken that step back. You haven't found that way of differentiate yourself. Um, and again, you are being perceived as a commodity. Now it's it's a lot easier to reduce prices than it is to increase prices, right? So you know, if you increase prices, and this is happened many times, you increase prices, nothing happened, your customers don't say anything, and everything is hunky dory. Yeah? And or you may have I got the I spoke to a prior customer a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, we increased your prices as your recommendation, and this was quite substantial. This was increasing prices maybe 50% thereabouts." And and uh, and and he said, "Yeah, we lost a few customers, but our revenues are up 150%." All right.
I mean, there is that, then you
Yeah.
work less and you make more money,
Yeah.
which is not really a bad value proposition,
No.
especially for providers, right?
No, and I got from another client earlier this year in June, I think. I got a screenshot from his from his accounting system or whatever it was, and he showed that his sales volume was down with 5 or 10% or something. His profit margin was up with 49%,
That's amazing.
and his message was very short. He says, "Less work, more money, thanks."
Well, I hope that all of our listeners will send you the same message. So let's talk about, tell us a little bit about the capacity in which you work with your clients, where we can find you. And I know you
Yeah.
have a freebie that you want our audience to take advantage of.
Yeah, we have, well, first of all, the way to find me and my company and my new book and my YouTube channel and all of that is to do a Google search for The Price Whisperer. Um, it's by far the easiest way. And if you manage to go to my site, which is thepricewhisper.me, actually it's pricewhisper.me. Um, um, there's about 5 or 6 guides on how to increase prices, how to put pricing as the centerpiece of your business strategy, and so forth. Lots of very practical and useful information. There's also and those are all free. It requires registration, but they're all free. There is also that 1% calculator on the website. And finally, there's a masterclass in pricing. These are 19 video episodes with just about everything anybody needs to know about pricing. There's a cost of that, $950. But if you use a discount called Fall 2020, so FALL 2022, it should be, then you get a 20% discount.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I think that the the thought of getting a little bit more serious and conscious about your pricing, not just about the product or service, but also about how you're positioning, what goes into it, is absolutely critical to our audience. And well, I'll be doing the same. I will tell you that.
Well, let me know how it goes.
I will. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And for
Thank you.
everybody else, make sure you listen to this episode maybe one more time to really get all the fine nuances about setting your prices. And I'll see you all next time.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for us today. Thank you for listening and watching the Business Growth Architect Show. I enjoyed having you here. And for accountability, just take one of the strategies that you have heard, one thing that you can implement in your business immediately. Please leave comments. Don't forget to like and share this show. And if you have any questions about business, please put them in the comments. We are here for you. We're here to support you and help you to grow, build, and scale your own business. For more advice, please check out our website in the show notes below. Thank you again. This is Beate Chelette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.